Hello, welcome everyone. Um, this is a presentation on consumer demand for autonomous delivery robots. It's presented as part of the IEEE workshop. Uh, and the topic of the workshop is the smart initiatives to improve last mile and 50-feet logistics to improve freight fluidity. So what we're going to see in this presentation is that what is the importance of last mile delivery robots? So essentially, in the event of COVID-19 pandemic, the public's interest is contactless deliveries, or users users want essentially their delivery to be made without any contact. So various types of deliveries, such as curbside pickup, or pickup from store or e-commerce, such as online shopping, they have grew significantly during the pandemic. So the concept of autonomous delivery robots are not emerging just because of the pandemic, but because of their potential for a number of aspects, such as a larger time window of deliveries and essentially not requiring person hours or delivery persons to be there and working for a specific number of hours, as well as they have stronger impact towards emissions. It's much more secure. So there are a lot of advantages of autonomous delivery robots. So a lot of companies are looking into whether their adoption is going to grow or not. Will this technology be enhanced, or meaning widely accepted or not? It's something that is not known to us. So the companies who are producing these devices need to focus on what is the need of end consumers, meaning who are going to essentially use this facility. So there are various types of deliveries, such as, if we see the current last mile delivery pattern, is a light commercial vehicle versus an autonomous delivery robots, which is much smaller in size, but it can essentially serve the purpose of deliveries, that is, those are smaller in size, though ADRs of similar to light commercial vehicles are also in development. So what are the type of ADRs we have? So such as sidewalk autonomous delivery robots, called as SADRs, are getting attention, though there are other type of autonomous deliveries, such as the road autonomous delivery robots. So that means they essentially share the road with conventional vehicles. So while SADRs use the sidewalk, meaning they do not require any infrastructure to be created, our ADRs also go with the same concept, but now they need to share with conventional vehicles. So that means the traffic concept of a safe traffic flow that comes into picture. So various types of uh, various types of ADRs. Those we have is what we see on the picture. Is there is Amazon Scout, and there is Starship, that is also by Starship company. Amazon is from Amazon, and both of these vehicles can carry smaller delivery products. FedEx has Roxo, so it has wheels in such a way that it can travel on the surface, as well as it can also climb stairs or go up in the elevator. So that's the unique aspects of FedEx Roxo. Neuro roadside autonomous delivery robots is essentially been endorsed by companies such as Kroger, Domino's, CVS in the US. And the last one, what we see on this slide, is UDEL. That's a roadside autonomous delivery robot. So what it does is that its size is very much as that of a light commercial vehicle, but it's fully autonomous, as well as it has delivery facilities, meaning with a scanning of a barcode, the doors are going to open, and whatever products one has ordered will be delivered. So it would be like very much like a vending machine, but a large vending machine already installed within an autonomous vehicle is an aspect. So moving forward to the core or the need of the research is that last mile delivery is a service that depends essentially by responding to consumer needs. So if the consumers are not interested, this innovation is not perfect. So what we see is that there is research that is going on in ADRs, autonomous delivery robots, essentially looking on or focusing on technical challenges, regulatory challenges, but we haven't seen that much of attention to consumer acceptance. And so that is what is the focus of this presentation. So the need of the research is that how do we need to investigate how autonomous delivery robots need to be deployed by companies, as well as if there are government agencies also looking for such type of innovations. So what are the expectations, what are the needs, and what are the motivations of consumers? Are they willing to accept or not? So this is a consumer acceptance of ADRs is what we're looking in terms of the problem statement. So what we did to address this problem is that we did conduct a consumer preference survey. So what we see on this graph is that, so we conducted this survey in city of Portland, though our number of other surveys are going on right now in other cities. But what we present in this presentation is that only from the city of Portland, which we have a sample size of 483, close to 500. Not a lot, but it is going to give us enough number of samples. So we checked with the sample size requirement considering population of Portland, as well as whether our survey sample is a relative reflection of the population or not. That's what the figure shows. The figure shows that, for example, if we look into age category, such as 18 to 24, so the solid or the gray box essentially shows the population, says somewhat about 15%, and the survey data shows the sample that we have is little over 15%. So similarly, if we see other indicators of age, gender, and ethnicity, we do not see a contrasting different evidence between the sample and the population. So thereby, what we are saying is that the survey sample is representative to that of the population. So the survey that was conducted through Qualtrics environment, through University of Memphis, and it was geared only towards people of Portland, and it's an incentive-based survey having 4 parts. So first part is that we wanted to ensure that the respondents are okay to responding to the survey. So we had a consent form that they need to agree before the survey really begins. The second part was questions regarding demographics and mobility tools. The third part was what are the perceptions and attitudes, such as not just necessarily towards autonomous delivery robots, but generally towards innovation. And then the fourth part is their familiarity towards ADRs, as well as what major concerns do they have, what they're happy about. So both pros and cons of ADRs were asked in the fourth part. So those were the 4-part questions. So the survey length was approximately 10 minutes. That is what was advertised. So what we did is, after collecting the data, we used latent class analysis to address the issue of what we call heterogeneity, because consumers are not homogeneous in nature. 2 similar type of consumers having from similar demographics might behave differently. So how do we address that? So we essentially used latent class analysis. What we did is came up with 5 type of attitudes, essentially, starting from such as one attitude saying, I like having merchandise delivered to me at home. And that is essentially a pro ADR type of attitude. And somebody, for example, saying that I like not having to leave home for shopping. That means everything is delivered to the home. So, and people having concerns, such as people saying internet buying has delivery problems, or people say, I do not want to give my credit card number to a computer. So people have concerns towards those. So we considered both very different, drastic or contrasting type of attitudes, those which are pro ADR, as well as people who are considering ADR could be a barrier. So they were responding to a 5-point Likert scale. So that's what we did the survey about. So then based on segmentation of consumers, we divided the survey responders into various classes. And as we see from the Bayesian information criterion BIC column here, that the six classes essentially gave us the optimal or the lowest BIC value, and we essentially considered that. So we have also bivariate residuals for the classes, and we see the 6-class solution essentially provides the optimal number of classes for this data set. So having that, so the 6 different classes are, we define them as direct purchasers, meaning people having physical stores and dislike home delivery, and people who are e-shopping lovers or COVID converts, consumers, those are omni-channel, meaning such as they prefer both physical stores as well as e-shopping, and people who are e-shopping skeptics, meaning they have concerns about e-shopping, and consumers who are indifferent, meaning neutral, essentially. They don't have a clear preference. They go for any type of shopping that is convenient to them. And we see that the highest percentage of are direct purchasers, meaning they simply go to the home, go to the store and physical store and purchase. And whereas the least one was the indifferent consumers, but we do have a distribution among various types of consumer segments. So what does the data say here? The data say here, who are COVID converts? So COVID converts are essentially high preference for young people, essentially having knowledge towards the technology, and low preference for seniors. So they still like to go and do their what we call as either direct purchasing or the physical store, going to the physical store and purchasing it. In terms of omni-channel consumers, high preference is towards the mid category, somewhere in between 25 to 64. And e-shopping lovers are also most adults are e-shopping lovers. So companies such as going to the internet, such as Amazon or similar type of services from other companies, and they do e-shopping for all of their products. And even-minded consumers are high preference for seniors is what we see, meaning maybe there is not a difference in seniors from various types of, such as either direct purchasers or even-minded consumers. Even-minded consumers is kind of, senior group is split between either they're e-shopping skeptics or sometimes they're direct purchasers. Those were the most of the categories, what we see in terms of age profile. In terms of education, what we see is that if less than high school degree, then consumers are mostly e-shopping skeptics. When respondents have high school degree, they're even-minded consumers. And bachelor's degree and above, they're e-shopping lovers. They do e-shopping as well as their COVID converts. If they were not doing it, now they're doing it. And some of them are also even-minded. In terms of gender profile, what we see is that the preference of female consumers, they are either COVID converts and omni-channel consumers, considering the safety and health of the family. They are essentially going for deliveries to their home. And male preferences, the second bullet has a typo, it's a male preferences that they're e-shopping skeptics or they're indifferent consumers, meaning thereby not necessarily going towards a specific end of purchasing. So that's the gender differences between female and males. In terms of income profile, so low income would be mostly COVID converts and e-shopping skeptics. Middle income is they're essentially indifferent and omnichannel. High income categories, that is income of 75,000 and above, would be e-shopping lovers, or some of them are direct purchasers. So that's what we see in terms of consumer segments. So the concept of valueness of willingness to pay. So 61% have a positive willingness to pay. That means they say that ADRs will add value, so they're willing to pay. And how much they're willing to pay, we have a pie chart, and many of them are willing to pay $1 or less, or $2 to $3. That's the majority, where the smaller segment of people are also ready to pay more than $4, or even to some extent $6 on top of what they currently pay for deliveries. In terms of 39% of non-positive, meaning people are not willing to pay. So 20%, that means what their concerns are is that existing delivery methods does not require an improvement. It's okay the way currently deliveries are made. They're willing to pay, but my income constraints do not allow me. So even if they're willing to pay, their income is such they're not willing to pay additional money for autonomous deliveries. About protest responses, additional cost would be paid by the government or the companies. I'm not willing to pay, or cost has been included in my taxes and fees, so I do not need to pay extra. So that's what are the concerns. So in terms of segment-specific willingness to pay, so this graph essentially shows by segment what is the percentage of consumers and how much they're willing to pay. So this is a great graphic essentially for companies who are preparing this type of products. So this essentially service synthesis tells us that where their consumers are lying, or who are their potential consumers. So in terms of modeling, so what we see here is that two different type of models. One is a general Tobit model, as well as the second one is the latent class Tobit model. So what we see here is that, and I will focus mostly on the latent class Tobit here in this case. So what we see is that in case of who are direct purchasers, when we compare to the base category of 18 to 24, then 25 to 44, they're less likely direct purchasers. So as 45 to 64, as well as 65 plus. And whereas, and compared to that category, these categories are essentially what we see, these 6 categories, they're all negative signs. In terms of females, in terms of males compared to females, they become e-shopping lovers as well as omni-channel consumers. So those are males when compared to females. Those are being significant. Any cell that is not filled, meaning thereby it's not significant. In terms of income, what we see is that various income categories are significant compared to low income categories, such as below 10,000. So more than 125,000 annual income, 125,000 annual income, they're much more likely to go for direct purchasing compared to others. And for example, COVID converts, they're compared to low income, they're much more willing and likely, such as omni-channel consumers, that they're also more likely to go for those specific type of categories. So COVID has influenced this income category personnel. So in terms of education and familiarity, what we see is that education, higher education, essentially high school degree or equivalent, they're much more towards omni-channel consumers, and that's a significant value is what we see. In terms of familiarity, which is a barrier, what we see is that if somebody had never heard of ADRs before taking this survey, they're less likely essentially to adopt. Somebody says, I have heard it, but don't know much. So, those are essentially preferences. There are much more results, but right now I will skip it in the interest of time. In terms of conclusions, what we find, this study offers timely insights into in the United States, what is the consumer's acceptance and willingness to pay. And we do consider heterogeneity in preferences and in the last mile deliveries. And we define 6 underlying consumer segments. And the findings is that we provide a profile of potential ADR adopters, and we provide insights on their differential acceptance of ADR technology. What we also find is the psychological barriers of willingness to pay for ADRs, meaning people who do not have sufficient trust, or they're not familiar, or they're not enthusiasm. They do not have enthusiasm towards new technology. So I would like to acknowledge the Freight Mobility Research Institute at Florida Atlantic University for funding of this research, and our collaborators of this work are Dr. Figliozzi from Portland State, Dr. Kaiser, who is chairing this session from Florida Atlantic University, Dr. Mike Golis, my colleague from University of Memphis, as well as Dr. Agnivesh Marni, which is also a research scholar, a postdoc at the University of Memphis. So with that, I've taken about a minute and a half more, but we'll be happy to answer any questions. Here is my contact information in case we cannot go to answer any questions right now. So thank you so much.